We are beautifully, melanated.
Welcome to the Beautifully Melanated podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Sarah, and I'm here with my lovely two co-hosts.
I'm Kay.
And I'm Karen. And today we are going to talk about Christmas. But before we do that, I'd like to start with my What in the World segment. And today I would like to discuss women's football. So I'm not a huge fan of football at all, I have to say. I know Kay is quite a big fan of football. But recently there's been a lot of talk about women's football, hasn't there? So I think I heard somewhere that it's not as well or as commonly watched as men's football. And people are saying, they're trying to change that. And they think that, some people are quite sexist when they say things like, well, women's football is not as good. And I thought, what do I think about that? Mind you, I don't like football at all, really, unless it's the World Cup. And I might watch a little bit of that. But yeah, so considering that I'm not a great fan, would I watch women's football? The truth is I wouldn't. That's the honest truth. I think that it's going to take a little while for it to be a sport that is watched by all. And I think that happens sometimes. I think probably like women's tennis. I don't have any facts on this. Perhaps Kay might be able to enlighten us. But I imagine that tennis wasn't played by women, probably, when it first began, until a certain point where they felt that actually women should be able to join. And I just think, as much as we might think it's not right, I'm not saying it's right, I'm just saying it takes us a little bit of time, doesn't it? It just takes us time to get used to something that's different. And I don't think that it's necessarily sexist or misogynistic to say actually women's football is not as interesting, because it's like women's boxing. I don't watch women's boxing, and I quite like boxing. Now, that's a sport I do quite like. I used to watch boxing with my dad. And I wouldn't watch women's boxing. I don't think I would. So is that wrong of me? I think I just haven't got to a place where I find it entertaining yet. And this is hugely controversial. But I like women's tennis. Love women's tennis. Maybe because I've got used to it. And there's lots and lots of sports that women play, or that, both sexes can play, like athletics. I love athletics. Men's, women's, whatever. It's just interesting, right? But there are just some things I find less interesting. And I don't know if that makes me, am I wrong to not be interested in women's football? Is it wrong that I don't particularly like, I don't know, women's boxing? What do you think, ladies? Help me out.
Well, firstly, I don't want to put a judgment on it. I don't think it's wrong or right. I think it's what you like and enjoy. I like all sports, and I like the women's game of every sport, except cricket, because I don't watch cricket, either male or female. But I like to see women boxing. I like to see women on the track and on the field. I love, love, love football. Big football fan. But I'm always used to girls in the game, because my son played football from he was quite young. And when he played for school, there were girls on the team who were also going for pro football. So I'm always used to seeing girls play football, and followed some of their careers when they went different ways. So I'm used to the women's game. But I will say, the women's game does not have the funding, as much as funding. They don't get the TV coverage. They don't have the same level of sponsorship as the men's game in the Premier League. So it used to be I'd be flicking across on a Sunday and I'd see that it's the women's FA Cup final. No advert, nothing promoting it. You just flick a channel and, oh, look, the women played. So they really have a raw deal, I think. But it's a good game to watch. And since they won the Euros, football's coming home. Yeah, because the women brought it. The men don't bring it. They need to stop singing that song. And when the women brought it, it was amazing. So now the tickets are sold out to some of the big women's games. Now they're getting the spotlight like they should. I hope the wages match as well. But honestly, Karen, to me, the only difference at the men's game and the women's game for me is the men are probably more aggressive in their tackles, and just the energy is more aggressive. But there's some fantastic technical players out there that I love to watch. So I'm going to encourage you to give it another go. Maybe come to Wembley. Maybe let's go Wembley one day when the Lionesses are playing.
Do you know, I think I'd like to watch it live. I think it's like anything, isn't it? Live is a completely different atmosphere. But that's possibly what I'm missing. Maybe it's the aggression. And maybe it's that, like, I just think some things are, I don't know. Yeah, I'm wondering if it's the aggression and that, I don't know, whatever it is that men bring to that sport that I quite like, if I were to watch it. And perhaps that's what's missing for me. I think you've hit the nail on the head. Maybe that's what it is.
The testosterone is missing.
I think so.
What I will say anecdotally, and it's just from my experience of my son going through grassroots football then to professional football, the girls were treated very, very differently to the boys. So the boys would get dropped off to the stadium and then they would get transported to the training ground. The girls had to find their way to the training ground. They didn't have the minibus. The boys would eat first in the canteen. And there was a clear difference in the way the boys were treated to the girls. He used to get the best of the best, the elite treatment. The girls didn't. So
why that was? I wonder if that's to do with, was that to do with funding? Perhaps the girls didn't that there wasn't enough funding for the girls to have a minibus. Could they have shared the minibus? Do you think there was?
I wondered why they didn't share the minibus. I always wondered about that. If it's raining, if it's cold, come on. But it filters all the way up to the top, or trickles down from the top, should I say. We don't have the Women's Premier League, for instance, doesn't get anywhere near the amount of money pumped into it as the men. So even at a grassroots level, then it isn't there and the funding isn't made available. I think the Lionesses winning the Euros will change that. I think it will change how stadiums are sold out. I think it will change how the girls coming up are treated. Well, I hope it does. But I don't know. That's just how the way it is. And even when he went professional, and of course you get tickets to the game, complimentary tickets, the same wasn't given to the girls. As in, interestingly, the club also had a girls' team. But I would have gone to see them play, but it wasn't even advertised.
I think it's terrible. Like you say though. Yeah, I think it's because it's not as well received and not as popular. It doesn't generate the funds. Therefore, it can't be advertised. It can't be promoted. I think that's possibly what's happening. And I imagine as time goes on and they become more popular, they are more watched. I guess that's when the funding will come, and I would imagine they would then inject that back into the game. So I do believe that change is on the horizons. I think it will change. It's like you say with their win recently. I think it will change.
And maybe those who don't like watching a women's game, like you, Karen, no judgment. Maybe they might sit and watch a women's game and think, actually, this is quite nice.
I think it will change. I do think it's just ignorance on my part, to be fair. I think it's just something I'm not used to. And I just haven't been drawn in yet. But I'm sure in time, because both my girls actually love football. They played football as children. Not to the point where I need to wrap up warm on a Sunday to watch them, thankfully.
Oh my God. But I never want to do that again. Never. I never want to go through that again.
You're a soccer mom.
I was completely. I know every major motorway in England.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, Sarah, what do you think?
So I'm really keen on women in sports. I love the athletics and things like that. My daughter and I like to watch that, especially like track and diving and stuff like that. when it came to everyone watching the latest kind of women's football, from when it was now the match that England basically, I sat down, I watched it, I turned it on, I told my daughter about it, and within half an hour turned over and we went and watched some reruns of the diving. She wanted to watch women's diving because I just thought this is incredibly boring. That's the way I found it. And if it was live, then maybe I would have been interested in it more. But I don't know. I think maybe what Karen said about, you said aggression, but I don't know. When I think of aggression, I think of, back in the olden days, they had those kind of amphitheatre type of things, and they had a like man versus lion, kind of that kind of stuff. That's what I'm thinking of that. Everyone loved, didn't they? Because everyone loved that. But yeah, I don't know what it is. That's the only women's football game I've ever watched, and I found it very, very boring. So yes, I found it boring. Would I watch it again? Not unless it was live. No, but I am very keen on women doing well in football because I want to tell my daughter and show her that we can do anything we want to do. So I also like the idea of, young girls, they want to play football. That's cool. So women in sport, I love it. But I just think I'm not that excited about football in general. Men, women, I just don't think I am. My partner's seriously into football and his son plays semi-pro and he is there every bloody Sunday morning, in the rain, even this morning in the rain, watching this.
Oh, football. Yeah, and snow.
And then 4 times a week as well on top of that, So
oh, yes.
I can't think of anything worse, but anyway. Yeah, I think maybe because he's always talking about football constantly. I don't know, it just puts me off football. But so yeah, I would never say never to going to see a live women's match. I'm very, very keen on, encouraging young girls to do sports in general, but it doesn't excite me. Women's football does not excite me. If they don't get enough funding, then I won't really think anything else of it. I won't really care. So I think think of that what you like. Yeah, it's just not exciting. I don't find it exciting, ladies.
Perhaps it's the energy.
It's the energy.
Yeah,
diving
as Kate
and athletics, running, all that. That's exciting. I want to turn it on. I want to watch it. Like, yes, who's. I love watching athletics. I love watching people do all sorts of stuff on the bar or gymnastics.
Gymnastics.
Yeah, gymnastics. Yeah. We love watching them. Remember Simone Biles? Naya absolutely loved Simone Biles in her heyday, even though she's young now. You know what I mean? That was like someone that Naya looked up to. So for me, I think of my daughter, if she's looking up to a black gymnast, I'm more likely to turn on the gymnastics or the diving
and the thing is,
than the football. So yeah.
I'm with you, Sarah, because I can watch men's gymnastics and women's.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
It's amazing.
For me, they're both really interesting.
Yeah, they are.
And I just don't feel that way about women's boxing or women's football.
Boxing, I would. Boxing, I would because I've got a friend that's a boxing coach. And so I've seen kind of a lot of people that she trains. And I think because I know her so well and because I know she's coached them, it gets me more interested. And that's what I would see. I'd definitely go and watch women's boxing. I would. Definitely. But
is that what I like about... Sorry, is that because she's coached them or because you're actually genuinely interested in the sport?
I think her coaching them and kind of showing me that, the people she's coaching, that's what got me interested. I don't think I'd necessarily have been interested before. But then when I have watched only little snippets and stuff, even her training and the women training together, I thought, yeah, I'd go and watch that. I'd actually but I'd need to see it live. That's what I'd like to do. Actually see it live. Go and watch it properly, But there's something, isn't there, quite intimate, I think, about something like gymnastics or something like diving or boxing. It's very different where you can have football that's quite removed. So many people on a pitch. Lots of time before matches start and that kind of stuff, or games start.
But also, I just wondered, ladies, women in football is probably one of the sports where they are the most covered. There is nothing the divers I have seen everywhere where they wax lady scenes. The athletes, yeah, they have incredible bodies, and you see quite a lot of it. And I wonder if that's part of the tantalization and the draw. I'm just putting it out there because women
Interesting. I
footballers.
had never ever thought of that.
No, have I know.
I don't know though.
I don't
I
think
can't
so.
say. I don't think I'm particularly interested in looking at the contour of a
Bodies.
woman's body, particularly. I think it's the game. I think it's what you said. I think maybe it's about the energy and that level of, yeah, I guess it is some aggression, really. The way they tackle, I don't know. But I would say it's probably more that. But that is interesting you mentioned that they were covered up. I guess tennis, yes, sometimes their skirts are I don't know. So I'm not looking at it.
See, tennis I find boring as watching paint dry. Really?
No,
really
I
boring.
love tennis. No, I love tennis.
The only
Boring.
sport I found boring was volleyball. The women's volleyball, I was bored out of my mind. I just could not enjoy it when
Like
the
snooker.
yeah.
Darts.
But with football, because I understand the game and I understand the technicalities of the game, it's a beautiful thing to watch, no matter who's playing it. Even now, when I drive past little football pitches on a Sunday morning and the little boys are out and you can tell they're under 5, I slow down to watch. I just enjoy how the game is played, regardless of who's playing it. But that's because I enjoy the game, not the gender of the person playing it.
I think you just like football.
I love football.
Yeah, I think that's a huge part of it. Perhaps if I was really into football, I may think different. Although I guess I'm talking about men who've said openly, I don't enjoy women's football. They love the game. They love to watch men play football, but they just don't enjoy women playing it. I just wonder if anyone's listening who would like to comment about that. If you're a man and you don't enjoy watching women's football, please contact us and let us know your thoughts.
And do send us complimentary tickets for when the Lionesses are playing at Wembley. We will go and we'll feedback.
So that brings that segment to a close, ladies. So as I mentioned earlier, we are talking about Christmas. I know it's slightly early, but I was coming back from London on the motorway and noticed that the queue or the lane going to Bluewater was almost at standstill. So some people are shopping. I'm not one of them, I'm quite pleased to say, but there are a lot of people out there shopping. So I wanted to get your thoughts, ladies, on Christmas shopping. Do you start early? I mean, I know people that start in January. You know, they'll buy wrapping paper, get a few bits in the sale, ready for the next year. I can't think of anything worse. Oh my goodness. No, that's not me. I am slightly more lastminute.com, I have to say. My family is huge. I think I've mentioned this before. I have an enormous family and I could never, ever, ever buy for everyone in my family. I mean, there are just too many of us. So I tend to pick the most recently born baby. Usually gets a present because we usually have one born every year in our family. And this year's no exception. So I tend to do that. And then we did Secret Santa last year because we thought that would be a good idea because then you're just buying a decent present for one person. So that was really nice. And obviously there are people that, you know, family members that I do buy for, very, very immediate family that I will buy for. And I still do the stockings for my children. I love to do stockings. My eldest is 21, but I still make a stocking for her. And if I didn't do it, I'm sure she'd look for it. I love doing that. That's really sweet because I'm just picking up things that I know that they'll like. It could be anything from a mug to sweets or just anything that I think they'll really enjoy. And it doesn't have to be very expensive. And I get a lot of enjoyment from doing that. When it comes to presents, though, I've had to be really, resourceful, I guess. Like I say, I do have an enormous family, which I absolutely adore. But, we just could not buy for everyone. But even if I could, I don't know. I just find Christmas so commercial now. It's just got crazy. I think, we buy people these things that they're not even going to use, it'll just, we've had like family parties and somebody's bought a gift and somebody's just got up and left it there because perhaps they'd forgotten it, or maybe, whatever. But I just think so many people almost kill themselves, like trying to buy all these things for their children. I mean, the adverts don't help, do they? They start advertising toys and things, and I just think people feel pressured. Not everyone, obviously, but I do think there's still that, and particularly this year where, things are really tight. Everything's gone up. We talked, didn't we, about the cost of fuel and, energy prices and food. I just think that for a lot of people this year, they're really going to struggle. I think it's going to be really, really hard. And I, for one, am trying to alleviate myself of that pressure. Like I say, I will buy the children, their stocking fillers, and they will get a present, but I don't really stress myself out about Christmas anymore. I used to, because I think I got it in my head that, I wanted to treat my children to something at this time of year. I wanted them to wake up and open something that would excite them. I guess because my children are older now, they just want money, to be honest. So that's easy. I don't have to, well, it's not easy, but I mean, it's less stressful than having to find something. But yeah, I just wanted to get your thoughts on how you feel about Christmas, just the whole shopping experience. Do you get into it, or is it something that you just don't bother with? Let's see, Sarah, what your thoughts?
Right. So, I like Christmas, but I am also very aware, even before the kind of cost of living crisis, of people kind of spending themselves into enormous debt purely for Christmas. I remember at school I used to work at, there was a parent and she used to get stuff from the catalogue for her children. And she said she'd buy all the stuff for the kids and then she'd spend the entire year paying it all off until she had to do it all over again next year. And that's just the way she lived. I thought that's like a life sentence. That's horrible. I think what's the point in that? That just feels wrong. I just feels uncomfortable. She blatantly couldn't afford this, and a whole year paying off Christmas. No. So my daughter's 9. So, she's past the stage of when she was a baby, you could buy, quite a bit of cheap stuff for babies and small children that was, put under the tree. Now she's 9. I have told her this year that this year you're older, so there'll be less gifts, but the gifts that are there, you'll really like. So the way I kind of look at Christmas money-wise is I will have a little Christmas fund. I'll make a little list of the kind of stuff I want to get her. Then I'll have a Christmas fund. And then every, few weeks, I think over the last 2 months, I'll put stuff away for her. So she'll have one big present, but I will have a budget for her Christmas. But I'm a bit funny because I have budget, but I like her to have 10 items under the tree, and I don't know why that is. But I like gifts under the tree. I think it's because of her age as well, because when I'd say by the time I was about 13 or 12, I used to get one present, just one present that I really wanted. So I remember one year I got a Game Boy. I really wanted a Game Boy, and it was black and white. And I was thinking, oh, thanks so much. Like that's all I was expecting though, just because my parents said, right, you're getting older, you can choose one present. And so I said, okay, thank you. And that was it. That's what I did. But now I think the thought of someone getting one present, I just feel that I've not met anyone that's just got one present. Even if people have got not much money and they've bought maybe 3 or 4 different smaller, cheaper presents, I think times have moved on. So my thought is, I think to be resourceful and I'm quite creative. I'm quite a creative person. So I could, for instance, get a hamper and I could fill up some stuff from Boots, one thing from the pound shop, some chocolate there, some hot chocolate there, and put it all together and make something out of it. So I'm not one for buying Christmas presents as tall as the Christmas tree. I think that's disgusting, pretty much. That's my view. And my daughter watches some of these YouTube channels, and one of these YouTube channels, I remember she watched recently, and I was watching it with her, and there's this girl, American girl, who's obviously got quite a big channel, and she spent almost an hour unwrapping presents. And her dad was there looking miserable, and the mum was filming it, trying to say, "Aren't you so excited?" And the girl was just unwrapping more and more and more presents and forgetting what she'd unwrapped and just wading through these gifts. I just thought, is that how someone thinks a good Christmas should be? Even though a lot of these gifts are probably gifted by different people because the channel's so big and sponsors and stuff. I found that gross and just bizarre. So for me, I think Christmas for me is about, yes, my daughter, she will be getting some nice presents, but it's about being with family and friends and just having time together, and not being in a situation where I'm like that lady buying out of a catalogue that takes me 11 and a half months to pay off. I think, Karen, what you're saying about your kids wanting, money and stuff when they get older, I totally understand that. I think there is pressure. I definitely think there is pressure. But I think as my daughter gets older, things will change, and maybe the way I see presents and stuff will change as her age changes. So, yeah, I do like Christmas, but I'm not going to go broke for it, Karen. So, yeah, that's my view.
I completely agree. And I was just going to add that there are these catalogues that come out, don't they, called Parks or something. And it says, why not spread the joy of Christmas? And what they really want you to do is become indebted to these companies, don't they?
That's right.
You start buying things, like I say, in January, ready for the next December, which is just crazy, isn't it? But yeah, I'm with you on that. I think that Christmas is much more to do with the people that you want to spend it with, your loved ones, friends, family, whomever. But that's what it's really about. And I think sometimes we kind of get a little bit lost in the commercialness of it, if that's even a word. What do you think, Kay?
Before I say what I think, I was going to ask, because a couple of times it's come up, the purpose, you said it's become quite commercial. What was Christmas about before commercialism? What is the point of Christmas?
Well, okay, so that's a really good question. That's the point, isn't it? I guess from a Christian point of view, well, yeah, let's say from a Christian point of view, Christmas is about the birth of Christ, even though we know it's unlikely that he was born on the 25th of December, but they've chosen a date, haven't they? They've picked a date to celebrate his birth. I'll go with that.
Okay.
And then I think that people who are not Christian, or even people who are perhaps atheists, actually, join in with the whole Christmas spirit. And I think for some people, it's nothing to do with the birth of Jesus. It's just about buying presents and having Christmas dinner and just having a bit of a holiday season, which is fine. But you're right. What is Christmas about? I guess, so like I said, I guess for some people, it's about the birth of Christ, albeit not on that day. And I guess for some people, it's a bit like Thanksgiving, how they have Thanksgiving in the States. I guess Christmas has sort of become that for some people, where it is about sharing and spending time with family and having a holiday and celebration, I guess.
Side note about about Thanksgiving, my cousin in America called on Thanksgiving Day and she said, "Oh, I forget, do you have Thanksgiving in England?" And I said, "No, we didn't murder the Indians." She laughed about that for the whole conversation because Thanksgiving also has been so commercialized and so sanitized, people forget what really happened to a group of people. So my take on Christmas, I despise it. If I could Tipp-Ex it out of the calendar, I would. There's very little I like about the whole thing. I like the lights. And I like the break from, your 9 to 5 and the rushing around. I like that I can slow down and eat myself into a food coma if I want to. And that's it. I first disliked it when I moved to England, actually, because it was the first time I had to spend it without my family. So that's why I hated it, because I was alone here and all my family were in Jamaica. And you had the adverts like the John Lewis's and the Sainsbury's adverts with the massive oak table, 6 generations around the table, perfectly spread. And it was me and my husband. And I was deeply missing my family. So the meaning of it didn't relate to me. And then as the years went on and I had children, I still thought, yeah, but it's Jesus's birthday. Can I give him a gift? And why are you getting a gift? It's his birthday. Why I got to spend so much money on you for someone else's birthday? I just didn't participate. But partly that's because I was in the church and the church kind of didn't buy into the commercial aspect of it. And I remember, and I just couldn't get dragged into the Christmas spirit. I hated it. Christmas days, I would often feel quite sad because I would think of the homeless or those children or adults who have had loved ones die in December. Those for whom they were displaced. What does home mean? So then Christmas could only be enjoyed by a certain family type. So the rest of the families, like when I was separated from my husband and my children spent half the day with me and then half with him, that wasn't a happy Christmas for them. They didn't want to leave me to go and spend time with their dad. They would have much preferred it if their dad and I were together. So because of how families have evolved over the years, it just doesn't feel relevant. And in fact, it feels quite painful to still do it that way when the nuclear family is decimated in the main. I then, and this is the money bit of it. So when I became a single parent, there was way too much month at the end of my money. And that was January to November. So December was so stressful. I don't know how I hadn't gone gray before, because you get paid early. And from that pay, I buy Christmas presents. I provide a different kind of meal. So your food shop that you would do for maybe 2 weeks, you spend on one day. And then you go to the office parties and the Secret Santas and all of that goes on around this time of year. And then January, the depression, because what the hell am I going to do? January is almost like a whole year in itself. You get paid early in December and then you're waiting about 8 weeks to get paid in January. Now, how are we going to eat? How are we going to eat when we've eaten it all on Christmas Day and Boxing Day? There is no money coming from anywhere else. So credit cards. So the debt, Sarah, is not even just for the presents. It's you've spent the money. So now you've got to live until you get paid in January. So now you're in more debt. Now you're more stressed. In fact, as a therapist, I get a lot of referrals in January from people who've had to endure their families at Christmas, the toxic, dysfunctional families, and who literally are going mad. So for many reasons, I don't buy into it. I remember my son at 3, he was like, Mom, how did Santa get in? We don't have a chimney. Now, if you're going with the narrative of how, so I've gone, I don't know. And I burst out laughing. And he was like, there is no Santa, is there? And I was like, no, it's me and your dad. And you know what? I'm going to take credit. We're going to take credit for the gifts. Because Santa not in this. Santa don't come into this at all. Right? So I'm from a hot country where there is no snow. So I couldn't fool him. And he was like, okay. So there is not really a Santa, 3 years old. And then I was telling the school moms and they were like, well, why didn't you say Santa had a key? I was like, you are talking to a Black person who have key to my house. Santa? I'm like, no. And Santa did not come down the street. I just couldn't spin it. But I see the investment people making it. The carrots, the half-eaten cookies, even might recreate something of a little mysterious noise at midnight. Jesus. No, sir. I'm not a bit of that.
You're such a cynic. Come on.
I am a Scrooge and I own it. You know what my perfect Christmas would be? Actually, I did it 2 years ago. I said to the kids, they're 18 and they were, much older. And I said, you know what? I want to buy some stuff in the January sales. So let's not spend a lot on Christmas. And I tell you what we did. Christmas Eve, we all went to Pound Shop and all our gifts had to come from the Pound Shop. And I could hear them laughing their heads off, going around Poundland and Gillingham. And
It's probably one of the best Christmases we had because we died laughing at some of the presents that were given. and then in January, we went and got some stuff in the sales that we really liked. And we loved it. Even now, they still talk about it as one of the best Christmases because it was so not stressful. It was the not Christmas Christmas.
I think that's the point, though. I think Christmas is what you and your family or your loved ones make it.
Right.
So what you said is absolutely true. There are people who will be alone at Christmas. There will be people who are disadvantaged. There are people who will be poorly. Some people without families. Although, and I do, spare a thought for those families. You're absolutely right. However, not everyone will have a loving family, and therefore that's what, hopefully they'll have good friends. Or, I mean, I know lots of people who spend Christmas not with their families, but they spend it with friends because they are, in a way, family, because you can choose those people around you, can't you?
Absolutely.
Right? So I am very, very fortunate. I say this all the time, that I have a very, very close-knit family. And yeah, like I say, I'm lucky to have that. And we've set up a WhatsApp group called Christmas. And we can't wait. We're like, right, what we bring in, who's coming, and we party. Oh,
that's brilliant.
We do, and all the children. Because the thing is, because we are sort of, spread out around the country. Really, it's a time where we all come together in one place, and all the cousins get to meet each other. And for me, that's so important. So I guess aside from the presents and the malarkey, it is about people. And I'm a very social person, and that's what Christmas means for me. It is about the coming together of people who love each other, who otherwise are not able to be together. So, but I think you're right in that perhaps your experience here in this country was quite off-putting, because it's cold and it's dark, and you weren't used to that, and the snow and all those things that we perhaps take for granted. For you, that was really quite impactful. So I completely hear that.
There was no reggae music, but there are no reggae Christmas carols. That's all I will be dropping when it's dropped, because my birthday is in December, so there will be no Christmas talk, no dirty C word talk until my birthday has passed, and then we can think about Christmas. But it's culturally not something I buy into. I don't know about you, Karen, but I remember growing up in Jamaica, and Christmas gift was things you would use every day: rag, toothbrush, clothes, and you get to live here. That's your present. You live here and you don't pay bills. That's your present.
My mom talks about when she was in Jamaica growing up, they used to whitewash everything. So you paint the fences white.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's what she talked about. She talked about getting one dress. You had, I mean, my mom is 81, right? So we're going back a little while, but she'd say the dressmaker would make you one dress.
That's right.
And that was your, but for her, Christmas was special. She loved it. She, has really, really fond memories of that. And I guess coming to this country is different. But I think what my mum enjoys so much is, having her family around her. I always think I don't know how many Christmases I will have with my mum, or, perhaps the more senior members of my family. And I do, I cherish every one of them because, tomorrow's not promised, is it? So.
Yeah. So true. Your mom's right. I remember the whitewashing, the curtains changing, the windows changing, the house being painted. It was just vibes. There was very little about presents. It really wasn't presents. It was the rum cake. Oh my God, the rum cake with more rum than cake. Oh my, it was the best. So it was the food and it was the being together. It was sorrel, cake, and big eating on the day. People would go, your family might pass by, and we just vibe. Yeah. And that was Christmas. It wasn't about boxes and boxes of presents under a tree. Well, nobody could afford that anyway. As Sarah was saying, one child opening presents for an hour. That's grotesque.
It is grotesque. We have presents, Instagram and stuff, and people having presents higher than the tree and photographing. I think that's the worst of it. And half the time, there's probably nothing in these bloody presents.
In the boxes.
I tell people half the time that people put I mean, I know some kids actually that I used to work with, and they would say that mum would put, first of all, she'd put empty boxes that she'd wrap underneath the tree, and then on top of the empty boxes, she put the gifts that actually were real gifts. But it was important that for her to make it look like the gifts were really high. I thought that's about her. It's not even about the people, you know. So yeah, it's grotesque. I think it can be really, really grotesque Christmas, and I will only be buying my daughter kind of some selected gifts that I know that she'll use, because I think it's buying like crap. It's just there's no point. There's literally no point. And the whole Secret Santa thing, you're right, and then you've got a work meal you've got to go out for, and it does all mount up. It does all mount up, definitely.
It does, yeah. And it can be really expensive. I guess just try to live within your means. So, for example, at work now, we're not going out. Someone's kindly invited to host a Christmas party at their home. So we're literally bringing a bottle, which would save us having to go out and buy a meal. So I think that what I'm trying to say is I think there are things that you can do to make it manageable for your purse. You know, it is an expensive time of year, granted, but we don't have to get sucked into the craziness, do we?
Right.
What if you want to get sucked in, but you can't afford to? Because you're saying living within your means and budget. But when you have more month than money and you are in a cost of living crisis, you can't budget out of nothing.
Right.
But what about things like, so for example, I personally think that, all right, children do want presents. I'm not going to say that they don't, but I think what they want more than anything else is a lot of love, don't they? Right?
Yeah,
so I know that you can't open a pack of love, can't unwrap love, but I think when children are happy, healthy, warm, full tummies, even if you bought something that was small but meaningful, it doesn't have to cost the earth. I don't believe that. I've
Totally
given my children things that they've really enjoyed, and I've bought really expensive presents, and honestly, they've played with the box, you know?
Yeah, but Karen, don't forget that they are then, and they probably loved it, but then they're going to be in the playground with children who've had a living room full of presents. And it would be like, well, what did you get for Christmas when they go back in January? And your child might feel away. I'm not saying they do,
Adults
but I'm saying,
as well. Adults,
yes,
teachers ask.
thank you, Sarah. The teachers ask as well. My kids used to come home with that. Yeah.
But I think that's a conversation to have, though, isn't it?
So they could say love. We got a lot of love for Christmas.
Then it'd be like, you're poor.
And
you're poor.
Yes.
And then your kid gets bullied.
Yes.
But then you said that you went to the pound shop, didn't you? And you bought some stuff. Also,
they weren't children. I mean, they weren't in school. They both left school.
But I'm saying you can't. All right, maybe not the pound shop, but I'm saying there are ways of buying things that are not that expensive that a child might really enjoy. That is possible
until they go to school.
But
that's sorry.
I think it would work for, you know, like if your kids are like 4 or 5.
Yeah,
they're small, and you can buy loads of stuff, you know, for cheap, and they can give it to them. But I think the time they start getting, see my daughter's age, like 8 or 9, people are asking, what do you get? What do you get? Even when she's gone out on FaceTime, the kids will show each other what they're wearing. What are you wearing when we meet up? What are you wearing when we meet up? And I think working in schools, I'm just very aware of you need to keep up, otherwise bullying starts.
But do you not think that that's a conversation that we need to have then? First of all, I would say to my children, don't watch
people. Yeah, I do.
People are having, because I can never keep up with the Joneses. I can never, you know, whatever I've got, I'm sure somebody else will buy bigger. What would I do then? Have to match that? That's ridiculous. I wouldn't even try to entertain it.
I just tell my daughter, tell her, don't ask, please. Do not ask so-and-so what they got for their birthday. Do not ask everybody what they got for Christmas, because everybody's different. Some people will get, you know, as much as that girl on TV. Some people may get one present, you know, and that's nobody else's business. So don't ask people what they got for Christmas. You know, just. But I'm sure she probably would. But what annoys me is one thing. Children, isn't it? Children ask. But when a teacher asks the kids to list off what they got for Christmas, that jars me. Because they should know better.
Yes.
That really gets to me.
And it's insensitive. Children who are in foster care might have gotten great presents, but missed their family.
Yeah.
Didn't get to see their siblings at Christmas. Right. You know, And I know that there are some parents who may love Christmas and want to participate, but haven't got the budget.
Yeah.
And I think those are the more vulnerable to getting into debt and using catalogs so that the child can have the latest, the Nintendo DS's or whatever the latest gear is to wear. And sometimes it is from that place that they get into debt, is, as Sarah said, is to keep their kids from being bullied, because they do get bullied.
Yeah, and that's wrong. I think that, like I say, that's something we need to address, I think, as a school community. And
teachers need to know across the board, as much as a teacher wouldn't say a homophobic or racist comment, I feel it needs to be up there with that. You're not going to say, homophobic comment. You're not going to say something racist. So therefore, don't ask people ask the children or what they got for Christmas, to list it all off in a class. Because what happens if I'm sitting there as a child? You're right. And like Kay said, if I'm in foster care, I'm sitting there as a child and I got one present from my mum that's hooked on drugs. My dad's not around, and I fucking hate Christmas. Sorry to swear. What happens if I'm that kid? And I've got to tell you about how wonderful my Christmas was when I was taken away from my family. I think, I think we're more sensitive as adults.
I think teachers would need to be sensitive. If you have got a child, that is, their circumstances are slightly different, or, that there are different issues happening for that child, you do have to be mindful. And actually, I'd be really surprised and really disappointed that a teacher didn't sort of consider those things.
Absolutely. They don't. Teachers that, Karen. Loads of teachers.
I know. They'll ask children about drawing your family tree when some children don't even know where they're from.
God.
As Sarah goes, oh God, you know what I'm talking about. It's to do the family tree. Did your grandparents fight in the war? And all that nonsense. And some people can't even trace their lineage back to their birth parents. Why are we doing this? And that's why I don't like Christmas, because I work with children leading up to Christmas and after Christmas.
Yeah, same here.
And it's just painful.
So maybe education needs to be given for teachers. If you've got a child in your class who is a looked after child, sure, you wouldn't be so insensitive.
They are, though. It's not even looked after child. Not even looked after child, Karen. I've known people that are not looked after, that just are families with very, very little income. And I remember one boy I worked with, he wasn't looked after. He was with just him and mum. Mum didn't have hardly any money. I remember he said to me when he was like 14, he said, remember one Christmas, he said, Mum went to the pound shop and Mum bought like maybe 2 gifts. He said she bought me some bubble blowing stuff and some kind of sunglasses and stuff. He said, and that Christmas, he said, I swore at her and shouted at her that, she didn't give me this stuff. He said, but now when I look back, I realised that my mum didn't have much money and she just was giving me what she had.
She could, yeah.
Yeah, so he's not in care. He wasn't on the child protection or any of that. Mum loved him. He just didn't have any money,
The other thing that I've seen in classrooms is, your wish list from Santa. That's a terrible idea, because I think that they might ask for things that they can't possibly get. And then
how about if my wish list from Santa? How about my wish list is, I wish I could have my mum back and I don't want to be in this foster home.
Right. How about I wish my dad would stop abusing me, or my mum would stop abusing me? How about I wish my parents had good mental health? You've got children who are, generations, intergenerational worklessness, mental health issues, abuse issues. No matter what you put under a tree for them, they cannot enjoy Christmas in the same way because of what they're having to deal with.
Right.
So it's not, I hate the adverts around it. I hate this whole idea of the perfect family Christmas.
Oh, Granny.
Yeah, Granny needs a chair for herself.
Bloody asshole. Sorry.
Exactly, though. Because some grannies are awful.
Really abusive. Yes. I don't like the one sitting next to her.
Hang on, ladies, I've got to kind of throw something else in here. All right, let's just think about those children who are a lot less fortunate than others, who don't have the best circumstances, etc. Is it not possible that actually, when the teacher brings a tree into the classroom, that perhaps the child may not have a tree at home, and maybe she has an advent calendar, and every day somebody else gets to open one of the, the little windows? Might that not go some way in comforting that child or helping that child enjoy the season? Because I think.
No, sorry. I think Christmas is a trigger for people.
I walked into my therapy room that I hire and someone had decorated it, Sarah.
No, I shouldn't do that.
About 6 trees. What?
No.
This is a therapy room.
Yeah.
I was livid, and I didn't have enough time to complain about it. But why would you do that? Where's the consideration for the clients coming in who do not want to participate in this? And it's the same for the child in the classroom. You know, they might have triggering memories, as Sarah said, of Christmas,
So do you
of
think
dad beating mum.
So do you think then, for that child, we shouldn't have a tree in the classroom?
That's a hard
No.
one, isn't it? That I just think.
I
think
say
therapy
no.
room. I've never all the places I've worked. I've never, even though they've had Christmas in a school, I've never put up any decorations in my room ever, because I think
a therapy room is different though. Therapy room is completely different because the function of a therapy room is not that of a classroom. They're completely different spaces. So I would agree that you wouldn't want a tree or anything festive to be in a therapy room. I think that's the one place where it should be quite neutral, I suppose. But I think in a classroom, I think you do celebrate lots of different things.
Yeah,
you might want to celebrate Diwali. You might want to celebrate, I don't know.
It's true. Very true.
And I'm not, pardon?
Or you might be a Jehovah's Witness child whose family don't celebrate it at all.
Yep.
And that does happen. But then does that mean that we can't have a tree in because one family who doesn't?
No. But it could be in communal areas. Why has it got to be in the classroom? Can it be in the passage? Can it be in the where the assemblies are held? Why has it got to come so close to me?
Okay, it doesn't have to be in the class. I thought you meant just not in school. I just used the classroom.
Oh, no.
Anyway, isn't it?
Classrooms are a place of safety for many children. We know a lot of children, about 1 million of them are going to school hungry. No breakfast, right? And teachers are feeding them out of their own lunches sometimes.
Yeah.
For me, don't bring it in the classroom. Keep it in communal areas, in reception. But don't remind a child who's in poverty about all the things they're not going to have.
That is really interesting. And I completely get where you're coming from with that. I do. But I still question whether having some sort of celebration in school and in class, well, for example, so I worked with some children in a class, I think they were year 4, and there was a boy there who probably wouldn't have had a happy, quote unquote, Christmas in the same way that lots of other children would have experienced it. And we had a Christmas party and everybody brought food in and things. And I don't remember what he brought in, but he had the best time. And I sat there with another member of staff and we thought, look, this is probably the happiest day of the season for him, because we didn't know what was going to happen when he got home. And actually, he really enjoyed it. He just enjoyed that feeling of being around his peers, being cared for and joining in something that was really festive and fun. And I really liked it. So we did bring it in the classroom, actually. We had a Christmas party, everybody dressed up. We brought food in, there was a tree, Christmas movies, all that. And I think for some children, that is their Christmas. So it is really hard to tell.
It's really hard, but even like Christmas jumper day, and at my daughter's school, Christmas jumper day, and that alone is like everyone remembers exactly what you're wearing last time. So you best be coming with a brand new Christmas jumper this time. And I know I'm going to have to go and buy a new Christmas jumper. I mean, she does need one because the other one's a bit small, fair enough. But again, it's like, I wouldn't make her turn up in I don't mind it being a second-hand jumper, but I'm not having her turn up in a slightly too tight jumper. I wouldn't do that to her. Where really, in the space of life, who gives a crap about a Christmas jumper? You know,
exactly. Hideous things that you only wear once a year.
I've got the same Christmas jumper I've worn since Wayne Scott. Karen, I've got the same Christmas jumper I've worn for like 6 years. I don't care. I'm not changing it till the threads come out. Doesn't matter. Do I care about Christmas jumper day? No. But then Naya, my daughter's going to have a new Christmas jumper. It's just,
Do you know what, though? I think that's different, right? So for myself, I cannot abide a Christmas jumper. Do you know what I used to do? I used to put tinsel in my hair instead. That was my Christmas, because I honestly, I was like, number one, they are so unflattering. I really, no, that's going to ruin my aesthetics. No, thank you very much. They don't go with my boots. And also, they're so expensive.
They are now. Unless it's a sale, Karen. That's why there's people like, get it on the 1st of January. Oh.
Exactly. Exactly.
So no thanks. Those Christmas jumpers are knockoff down to £1 and no one wants them.
I have I have a jumper I bought 2 years ago, ladies, and it's the only one I will wear. It's from Street Greets, and it has mistletoe and wine on it. WHINE.
Love
Yes.
it. Love that. Love that. Must be
Yes.
boring.
And it's red and it's plain and it's not hideous.
Okay. Yeah.
It's just cool and sexy. And
Yeah.
yes, we wine. So yeah, I'm here for that. But you're right,
Okay.
Sarah. Those things are costing 14, 15 pounds.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
That's right.
Very expensive. Yeah. It's crazy. Even that in itself is crazy. And I remember working in one school, and parents had made a Christmas jumper. So they'd like stuck things on to like a plain jumper because perhaps they couldn't afford it. So some people are quite creative, and there are things that you can do, but it's quite difficult, isn't it, to be that brave where you've not purchased the jumper and you've made one. But
Right.
I mean, for some children that really worked. They would make their Christmas jumper with their parents, and it was a fun activity that they could get involved in, and then they got to work to school and say, look what I made. So I guess
I think
it's
again
different
that
for everyone.
works. That works when you're very young. I think 4 or 5.
Yes.
Yeah,
Reception. I remember I made my daughter a like tutu or something for Halloween, and that worked and stuff when she was in nursery. But now there's no way in year 5 someone makes Christmas jumper, you're gonna get bullied for it. There's no
Absolutely.
way. Unless your mum
The
is
mick will be taken.
outstanding. It's like a seamstress, and can make this amazing piece of work. If that's mum's job or something, mum's an amazing seamstress, then you'd probably be like, wow, where's that jumper from? But otherwise, I would never do that to her. I would never. As much as we love making stuff at home, I wouldn't make a piece of clothing with her and send her to school in it.
No.
In fact, she wouldn't even do it. She would say, "Mum, that's embarrassing. I'm not gonna go to school in that." When she was younger, yes, easily. That
Yeah.
But
See,
you've got to remember,
I
our
have
kids
to
are
say-
there, left in the playground with other kids.
I'm like you on that. I think that even if I didn't buy a Christmas jumper for myself, I'd usually wear my eldest daughter's. I could fit into a jumper. She was into that, and I wasn't. I would just wear hers. I think I've still got the Grinch one that she left here. That I'll probably bang out this year if I have to. For my children, I would always make sure that they had what they needed. So I guess I'm guilty. I would never ever want my children to not have.
I've seen what goes on
even
in
if I
schools.
didn't
We've all seen what goes on in
Yeah.
schools. I've worked in it for 8 years. I've seen the bullying. I want to make sure. I wouldn't go over the top buying. Try not to spend a fortune. Even if you go to Vinted, which I absolutely love Vinted. And get some second-hand. Even if I got a second-hand Christmas jumper, it doesn't matter. As long as it looks fresh, then I'm going to put it on her.
Yeah.
But what I wouldn't want to put her is something that looks tacky, falling apart. I made it, even though it's made with love. No, just wouldn't do that.
Or worse, they come in just their school uniform as usual because mom couldn't afford it.
Oh,
And then they stand out. Oh,
That's
my
really
God.
hard. That's
That
really hard. That's very hard. And do you know what? If you've got more than one child in a school, some people have got 3 children. That's 3 Christmas jumpers.
3 jumpers.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And contributing to the school activities, they always need £1.
Yes. All the time.
All the time.
The day before
Times
as
3.
well. The day before.
Yeah.
It's really hard. I have to say that's the side of it I think I don't like. That sort of I'm sure it started with good intentions, and it's lovely that everybody looks lovely in their jumpers, but actually when you think about it, this can be very, very stressful for a lot of families.
Yeah,
it is stressful for a lot of families.
It's stressful for me.
Like even the idea of buying a turkey, I hate turkey. It's disgusting and it stinks and it's dry and it's horrible.
you don't eat that.
But I remember my kids saying, why can't we have turkey on Christmas Day? I said, I'm not buying a turkey nobody likes.
But
just to prove that we had it on the table.
But you can have, but it's not to prove you had it on the table. It's because your children wanted to try it. So you could buy a turkey crown, or you could buy a leg. That way, it's not a whole turkey. It's a portion of a turkey. They get to try it, and then there's less wastage. And
they tried it at school, Karen. You know when they do the Christmas menu on the school dinners menu?
Disgusting. Naya told me about
it's not
Christmas
turkey.
dinner. I said to her today, I said, there's an email come through about Christmas dinner. Do you want Christmas dinner at school? She said, it's disgusting. She said, it's black bits in the roast. She said, potatoes are hard. And she said, OJ found a fly in his salad. And I said, are you sure about that? She said, yeah, there's a fly. OJ found it. Yeah, don't worry. It's on a packed lunch, Mum. On my packed lunch. That's fine.
I've put down that I'm happy. I love Christmas dinner at school. No, I love it.
Karen, it's a still stinking story.
I am happy with lashings of gravy. I'm having.
It stinks. Cabbage. Yuck.
The
stinks.
smell makes me gag.
I love Brussels sprouts.
It's like hospital food.
I don't mind sprouts.
Like hospital.
Yes.
No, I do you know, it's not that it's tasty, I just like the sentiment. And I'm going to have Christmas dinner and I will sit there and all the staff will sit together and we'll wear our little Christmas hats and I'm going to get into the festive season.
This is when I'm glad I'm celiac, because then I don't have to participate in your gluten-laden, bad-smelling, unseasoned turkey.
Yeah, exactly.
No. Ladies, here's my alternative Christmas, okay? If we truly want to be inclusive and represent the world we currently live in, not some fantasy, we would do away with all the representations of Christmas and call it a time to be with your family after a really hard year.
Yep,
it's some family time. We get together, we have a good time. And if families want to exchange gifts, great. If not, not a problem. Just bun the nonsense about what makes Christmas Christmas, not the trees, not the lights, because it doesn't represent the world we live in. It just doesn't, you know. And we talk about poverty, but we can also think about the other side, actually, where money is not an issue, but where abuse happens, where dad will get drunk by 2 o'clock and knock 7 bells out of mum across the hallway under her very expensive Harrods Christmas tree. You know, abuse doesn't just happen in poor families. It happens across the spectrum. So I just wish we would call it a time to be with your family. The end.
Hang on, though. But I like the nativity. I love the nativity.
Oh, Karen, that's boring.
Do you?
I love the nativity. And when my children were little, I remember my eldest got the lead role in the Christmas play, and I was
Mary
front row. No, it was called Madeline. So it was like it was an alternative kind of version. You know, they come up with new ones, don't they? It was called Madeline, and she was the lead character, and she sort of told the story through the eyes of this young girl. Loved it. Now, you know, that's my kid, front row. I was there, teary-eyed. But I love the whole thing. So please, we're not getting rid of the nativity. I love it.
I like the lights.
But it's part of the fantasy. Thank you, Sarah. I like the lights. Even the nativity is part of the story and very, very anti-black and white-centric. So I'm not participating in that. In fact, the only nativity I like is you know, when people voice over and reenact it, but bring it to their specific culture. So there's a Jamaican one where Joseph said, Mary, who breed you? He said, Mary, who breed you? And Mary said, Jesus. And he was like, forward, we're going to clinic. Because that's exactly how it would go in a Jamaican family, that you tell your husband who hasn't had sex with you that you're pregnant and the Holy Spirit made you pregnant. Really?
It's immaculate conception, Kane. Come on.
And which Jamaican man do you know would believe that? Seriously. So being culturally specific, the nativity doesn't work for us because no.
I disagree. I think the nativity is not culturally specific for a reason. I think art is Bethlehem. They would have been dark. They would have been, dare I say it, for black people, at least dark skinned. And I don't share that view. I don't see it as having a color or, you know. No, I don't. I think that's my interpretation of it, because I know that Jesus could not have been blue-eyed and blonde. Just the part of the world he came from would make it that impossible. So I don't see it like that at all. I just think it's a beautiful story. I just love the whole, you know, the story is just, albeit.
But you see why Santa can't be universal then? Because across the world, different cultures, different temperatures, different seasons, it just wouldn't make sense.
So Santa, the whole Santa is anywhere. I find Santa, just since I was a kid, I've never liked Santa. And my mum and dad used to say, you know, Santa will come upstairs and into your bedroom and put the presents. I used to go, don't let him go up there. Don't let him come into my room. Promise you won't. They're like, oh,
Oh,
okay. I said, I don't
Scared.
want him in my room. I don't know this. I don't know this man. Kind of thing. They're like, oh, okay, sorry. They said, we just thought it would be nice to think of a big Santa. I said, no, it's actually terrifying. Remember, as a child, they're like, you absolutely
yeah.
hated the thought of it. And I would never say to
No.
my daughter, oh, Santa's going to come upstairs and go into your bedroom. Like, she'd be usually like, no, he's not. I don't want him to. You know?
Yeah, exactly. And
So
why?
all that Santa thing, I just find all that a bit much, to be honest with you. All that
I
Santa
have-
about.
Do you know what I used to do when my kids were little? I'd put a mince pie downstairs on the table, but I'd make my mum bite half of it because I don't like mince pies. But I wanted it to look as if Santa had, bitten it. So mum would bite this pie and we'd put it back. And I'd get carrots and I would break them so it looks as if the reindeers had half eaten them. I mean, I wasn't playing, like I went for it.
You went out.
We had reindeer sprinkles, which we'd get from the Christmas fair. We sprinkled that everywhere. And I was so disappointed when my eldest realised that it wasn't real, because I tried so hard to create that fantasy fair. I personally believe that children, I think, grow up quite quickly nowadays.
Yeah, they do.
And I loved preserving her innocence.
Yeah.
I loved preserving
On that.
that child curiosity and sense of adventure. And I loved it. I am guilty. I
am with you, Karen.
Stuff.
I'm with you. I'm literally we're still doing Elf on the Shelf, still doing Elf on the Shelf. I think she knows it's me now, but she's still, even now, she'll be 10 in February. By then, I know realistically this is the last Christmas that we're going to be thinking about elves, but she loves them. She literally loves them. She absolutely still loves Elf on the Shelf.
And
so
it's
like you, Karen, I'm cherishing it because I know when she's 10,
they grow up. They grew up so quickly, and I was so disappointed when a boy at school told her that Santa was not real. I really wanted to, I was going to smack him. I was just like,
oh.
Not literally, people. I'm
Well, Aaliyah believed in it till Aaron told her it's not real because, at 3 he discovered that Santa couldn't possibly get in our house, and I had no answer. So before 5, they both knew there was no such thing as Santa, and it was me. But it's ruined Christmas for her. So now she loves Christmas. Like, I just let her run rip. She adores everything about it. The table setting, the decorations.
It's nice though, Carol.
Not the gifts. She's not too fussed about the gifts. In fact, she'll tell you, I don't care if you get me anything. She just likes the being together and the light, the element of Christmas. Yeah, she loves all that.
I love my house is all decorated. That to me is even better than the actual day. I like all the the putting stuff up and like making Christmas drinks, and I love all that stuff.
Preparation, absolutely. And you know, one year, my husband, when I was with my husband, because he was from the Caribbean, he, I guess, didn't feel the same way about Christmas that I did, because it was very different for him in this country. The experience was very, very different to what he was used to.
Mm-hmm.
So we always spent it with my family, like I say, in Bristol, my mum's, and then, the wider family, we'd rent a hall. So one year he said, actually, can we spend it at our own home here? We all looked at him like he was crazy. I understood that maybe he just kind of wanted us to himself, and he just wanted something cool. I don't know what he wanted actually, and I obliged, and I did what he asked. Worst bloody Christmas I have ever had in my life.
Because she didn't want it, Sarah. In the first place, she thought it was mad. Like, what?
What, just him and the kids? What? That was awful.
Well, that's what I had for 25 Christmases. You see why I hate it. I would rather be in Jamaica with my family. We eat, then we go on a beach, we bust some reggae out, drink some sorrel with rum. Hello.
Yeah. Have you been home for Christmas? Have you had Christmas back home?
Not once. Not since I moved to England.
Oh, I
think not spent a Christmas there.
Yeah. I think maybe that's the next trip, perhaps.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure. My kids would hate it, though.
It's different. I've never done it. And he used to say, let's go home for him for Christmas. And I kept saying, I can't think of anything worse. I've never had a hot Christmas. That would just be weird.
Crazy. I'm ready to go now, straight away. I'll be happy
I could go anytime, though. I don't have, I wouldn't go at Christmas.
Because
nicer at Christmas. Even nicer at Christmas. It's
It's
miserable
hot.
here. It's pouring with rain. Why
yes.
not got a ticket and you have someone? You're with someone that is from a hot country. I'd be going straight over. Christmas, yes, please, on the beach. Thank you.
And that's why it wouldn't work for Karen because it's hot.
Yeah,
Christmas
that's
and
weird.
cold come together.
They are synonymous for me. Christmas and snow. I mean, we don't always have snow. I can't, honestly, I just said to him, can we not just go at another time? Does it have to be Christmas? Because the kids were like, that would just be weird, Mummy. And I was like, I know, right?
It's going to be amazing.
And yet, I agree, Sarah, it's lovely. But yet, Karen, 5 minutes ago, you were saying the nativity is universal. Do you see why it can't possibly be?
What do you mean?
Universal? Because if I'm in Jamaica on a beach with some jerkfish or something, there will be no shepherds dress up coming with, like I said, who breed Mary is the sausage boy. It's just not a thing. So for Jamaican children, it makes no sense.
Did you not have the nativity at church?
No.
What,
That church did not celebrate Christmas. No.
But are you telling me that in Jamaica, the whole island, there is no nativity at Christmas?
No. I'm saying in the church I grew up in.
Okay.
They didn't celebrate Christmas, so there was no nativity.
Okay.
I think other churches may well do. And in schools, yeah, they probably do act out. But because I went to the school affiliated with my church, it didn't happen there either.
Were you Seventh-day Adventist?
Unfortunately, yes, I was. What gave it away, Karen? What gave it away?
Well, anyway, on that note, ladies.
On that, wait. I haven't heard yours and Sarah's alternate Christmas. Sarah, if you had an alternative Christmas, what would it look like?
I would be going off with my partner to Ghana with my daughter, going to some nice yacht club, drinking a pina colada, and having sun cream rubbed all over my body. That's what my Christmas would be like.
Awesome. Karen.
Well, that's a difficult one because, like I say, I feel very, very lucky. I feel very blessed to have the Christmases that I do because we just have such a blast. You know what? You have to come to my family's Christmas party. That's what you have to do. I think you'll enjoy it.
I would love to. Bear vibes and good food. Yeah, man. Yeah. I'm there.
Holy vibe, enough food, holy laughter. You know, that for me makes Christmas. And so I don't think it could be any more perfect than what I have already.
That's lovely. And I would love to come. I think that sounds really lovely. But until then, I would love to be on a beach.
Me too.
Treasure Beach, specifically at Jake's, with some cocktails, jerkfish, bammy, and vibes. Yes. The sun on my skin kissing me.
That's great.
Merry Christmas. Yeah.
Perhaps we could rotate. We'll have a Christmas with each other and we'll all do something different.
Because I would love to be in Ghana for Christmas, Sarah.
Yes,
so yeah.
I'll try that. Why not? Absolutely.
And come to Jamaica and let us vibes it up.
Yeah, all right, you're on there.
Yes. You're on. And I'm coming to Bristol to meet your huge family. Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
It sounds like an anticlimax, though, doesn't it? We've got Ghana, Jamaica,
Bristol.
I haven't even got. Yeah. Trust me, I'm ready to go anywhere though. But it's about who you're with, isn't it? It's about who you're with, anyway, isn't it? So. Yeah.
Absolutely agree, Sarah. It's who you're with, and in all places, we're going to have good food. We can still have our food coma. Hello.
Oh, definitely.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. Okay, then, ladies. So I would just like to wrap it up and just say thank you so much for joining me again. Thank you to everyone who is listening. Any thoughts, please share it with us on. Sarah, would you like to tell us how the listeners can join in?
It's always you, Sarah.
Every time. So we are on Instagram at Beautifully Melanated Podcast. And we are on email at beautifullymelanatedpodcast@gmail.com. We're also on YouTube at Beautifully Melanated Podcast. Please feel free to contact us through any of those 3 ways. And yeah, we'd love to hear your thoughts on Christmas, whether you love Christmas, whether you hate Christmas, whether you're indifferent to Christmas. Yeah, please feel free to reach out to us. So yeah.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thanks, Sarah.
All right.
See you next week.
Thanks, ladies.
Bye.
Bye.
We are beautifully